So today is the first day, the first playlist of the new year, both 2023 and, year 3 that we will be dropping. And I'm really excited for this because if you're new to the channel and this is the first time you're seeing my face, I started doing like full playlist drops, essentially deep dives on one specific type of, product. So a soap or a cosmetic or a technique within a soap or a cosmetic, all of the things kind of dropping them all at the same time, giving you options as far as recipes were concerned, and discussing the pros and cons of all of the recipes. And so I loved doing that. And I have like, I don't know, 20 of them planned for year 3. So very excited for all of that. This particular playlist deep dive, however, was not one that I had even really thought about doing until I started getting a ton of comments and questions on old YouTube videos that I have made about this particular product, as well as a lot of messages within Discord and within, my DMs and emails. So I figured it's a good idea to not only put it on the list, but bump it right up to the top because this is something you guys are making right now. And I will tell you what today's playlist is, what the deep dive is about, and why we're doing it, like what the importance of all of it is in the first place in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for week 9 of year 3. And as I said, this week we are doing a deep dive, full playlist being dropped between today and tomorrow, but not a super crazy playlist. I think the last playlist deep dive I dropped was like 8 videos. I think I'm going to stick this one to 4 because this topic can be handled in 4, no problem. And that topic is bath melts. Now, I have been receiving a ton of questions and comments on old videos wherein I've made the batherons and given you, recipes for that, as well as emails and again, DMs, just general discussion in Discord, kind of talking about it. And I've seen a lot on the Facebook things and the forums as well, that it seems that people are just sort of confused as to what a bath melt is versus a solid shower oil versus a massage bar. All Lush products, by the way, but this is also the time of the year where people start talking about Lush a whole heck of a lot more because they're looking at Lush's website, trying to see what they're selling and if they can effectively duplicate it. So within this playlist, I'm going to give you 4 different recipes for bath melts, and we will be talking about the pros and cons of each of these recipes, and ultimately what I end up doing for my bath melts. And actually following this and doing all these different tests, I have decided to go ahead and change my recipe. So you know which one that I decide to use for sure. But as I said, because there's so much confusion surrounding what a bath melt is versus a massage bar versus a solid oil, shower oil, I figured we should probably talk about that within all of these as well. And we should also talk about what it is that you want your bath melt to do, because that's ultimately going to be what makes your decision as to how you formulate it, what you really want it to be, right? So first up, a bath melt, as you might expect, that goes into the bathtub, right? And it's different from a bath bomb in that it has lots and lots of luxurious, moisturizing, nourishing oils included in it in amounts that you can't get into a bath bomb without creating a bath melt or a mess in a lot of cases. So there's that. The oils and the butters that you put into a bath melt are going to be dependent on what you want your ultimate product to do. Do you want it to be a deep moisturizer? Do you want it to be lightweight oils? Personally, I like to be a combination of the two, and I have goals in mind as to what I want my bath melt to do, but we will talk more about that later. Second up, a massage bar. Well, a massage bar, according to Lush's website, which we will talk about through this playlist as well, is meant to be used on dry skin, not in the shower, not in the bathtub. It's going to be more akin to a solid lotion bar than anything else. However, there is a lot of confusion about that as well because people do believe that that's something that Lush has intended to be used in the tub. Not the case. Third would be a solid shower oil, which in nature and formulation is going to be very, very similar to the solid lotion bar or the massage bar. But since it's going to be coming in contact with water, some added precautions need to be made. And while we are not going to be making massage bars or solid shower oils, for this playlist, we will be talking about them. We will be looking at their ingredients and really how you manipulate the different ingredients that you put into products, much like you would do with baking to, yield a bread versus a biscuit or brownies versus a cake, right? A lot of the same ingredients are at play, but it's the way that we manipulate them to achieve the end result that we really want. So that's what we're going to be doing today. One thing that we are not going to be doing today, that we are not even going to touch, are going to be the hundreds of really bad, if I'm being honest and blunt, bath melt recipes that exist online. And I'm talking bad from a perspective of somebody who makes and sells products, right? So I'm not going to be going into, easy 2-ingredient coconut oil and insert whatever other oil you can find in your kitchen cabinet here. Here's your bath melt. I'm not going to do that. I love that those recipes exist for just the person that wants to quickly make a bath melt to go into the bathtub with them for their self-care. But a lot of that makes me wonder every time why they don't just put some straight coconut oil and a little bit of regular, any oil into the tub itself, because you're going to get literally the exact same effect. So we are not going to be discussing any of the DIY recipes. I understand there are a lot of them out there. And if you're just here because you're interested in, just doing something for yourself personally, those recipes are great. They're cheap. The ingredients are easy to come by. Do your thing. Have a ball. But I do think if we are going to be selling this or giving this to other people, we need to be responsible makers and actually formulate this to be something better performing than what you're going to get if you mix like coconut oil and insert whatever else here. So now with all that being said, the recipe that we are working with today is actually a pretty easy one in that there are basically 2 ingredients. Well, 3. You have a very firm butter, you have a softer butter, and you have an emulsifying wax. This is a very popular recipe that has been out there for quite a while and people really seem to like. And so we're going to make this. We're going to talk about the necessity of the different waxes and the butters, what you can substitute for these waxes and butters, and really what the end result is and my thoughts on it. So let's get to the video. I'll give you the recipe. We'll do the making thing. We'll talk about all the things and it'll be awesome. Okay, so today we are doing one of 4 ultimately bath melt recipes, and in this one we are not putting anything in except for firm butters and in e-wax, an emulsifying wax. And so there you go. Look, I actually put it all there. You go. There's a recipe. I did that so you don't have to read my handwriting. You're welcome. Rewind and screen cap. But with this, the recipe itself, I've seen some version of this online for, I don't know, probably 12 years. I think I first saw it on Humblebee and Me. And just looking at the formulation, I shied away from it because to me, putting in that much oil into a bath melt is going to yield a rather oily bath experience. And so on the outset, didn't like it. Also, it becomes kind of an expensive experience because you have the emulsifying wax, which is cetyl alcohol and polysorbate 60. Now, emulsifying wax, A, can be kind of expensive for sure, but 2, comes in different variations of what I just showed you. My particular blend is cetyl alcohol and poly 60, but really what you're going to find in all emulsifying waxes is going to be a fatty alcohol and probably poly, usually 60. This particular one is cetyl alcohol and stearyl alcohol. And really the inclusion of an emulsifying wax in here, as I said, becomes kind of pricey, especially when you're combining it with cocoa and shea, which are, really nice, luxurious, awesome oils, but a little bit on the pricey side. But it also becomes an exercise in like why, because we don't really need an emulsifying agent in this, because with a cocoa butter and a shea butter, you melt those down, heat those up to the melt points, give them a good whisk, and you're good to go. You don't actually need an emulsifying agent, right? Well, that's true, but when you get, as we all probably know, when you put oils into water, they like to pool, they don't like to mix. So the emulsifying agent realistically is going to be best served in the tub itself. So while it's melting in the bathtub, also comes the emulsifying wax, and it's going to be dispersing those oils, those butters, to, the entirety of the bathtub and not leaving pools of oil, is theoretically the big draw for that. Now, you can get away with, and actually I have got away with, using, instead of just a straight emulsifying wax with, your fatty alcohols and your polysorbates, a combination of the two, using just poly 80 as the emulsifier. Now, polysorbates, we have like 20, 60, and 80 that we're reasonably going to be using within, the cosmetics. And for this purpose, the poly 60 and the poly 80 are very similar to what they're going to do. That is not true when you are dealing with like water-based products or pH-specific products. It's a very different, beast with all of that. Again, I'm pretty sure I've done a whole video on emulsifiers, so you can go check those out. But most of the time, no matter what, a polysorbate is going to be used as a co-emulsifier. It doesn't really do the job of a proper emulsion, but in something like this, a 60 or an 80 would achieve the same benefit of dispersing these oils into the water, so we're not left with any weird micas hanging out and floating on the surface, as well as, the oils. I've been doing that for, 8 to 10 years with the existing recipe I've been, using. But the inclusion of an e-wax with this is interesting in that you can, if you're just doing this solution, you can make things blue. You can make things green without using a lake or a dye, because we don't have like the baking soda and the citric acid, so you're not getting that reaction that's going to produce those really smelly off gases that you may have experienced a time or two in your, cosmetics making journey, really, with bath products. Okay, now on to the big reveal of these guys, and at first blush, obviously that is not the color I wanted. I wanted to use a very dark blue with this because of the aforementioned lack of baking soda and citric acid in this guy. We'll talk more about why I prefer to put baking soda and citric acid into bath melts in another video for sure. But the benefit of this is it's not the right color, but it's easy to remelt and add some more mica, which I will do to one of these guys and, show you. Right there. See, there you go. Just remelted one of them that broke and put in some more mica, and it's going to be big and blue and, beautiful. But to the one that broke, these were actually very fragile, and they have a reasonably low melt point, which is kind of surprising because I would expect them to have a higher melt point. We're looking at like cocoa butter is a melt point of 95 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And shea is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And an e-wax is around 120, so I would have expected a slightly higher melt point than this, but alas, that's not really what it is. I would be worried that these would melt in shipping for sure, and on one hand, that sucks, but on the other hand, most people these days that are getting solid products, solid versions of anything, know that there's a potential for melting when you're going the handmade, natural adjacent, whatever you want to call it, route. So I don't know that it's the end of the world for that. I am interested in seeing how these actually perform in the tub, but, first blush, the pouring was very easy. The remeltability factor is great. They popped out of the mold like nobody's business. But I do worry that in shipping, these are going to melt because they don't have something else to really bind to help keep it stable during shipping. But, as I said, I don't really have much of an opinion until we test them, which we will do in the 4th video in this installment, where we will test all of them together. But for the actual making, it's not terrible. And And there they are, the first round of bath melts. And again, as I probably said in the video, it is not required that you use these in, macaron shaped molds. You can use these in virtually anything. That's just what I make my bath melts exclusively. So I did some macarons with all of this. And yeah, one of the biggest bonuses to doing it this way, just having the waxes and the butters, is that because there's no baking soda and citric acid, you're not getting that off-gassing that you normally would with your blues and your greens or your micas. And so yeah, if you're wanting like a bright blue or a dark blue or a beautiful green bath melt, you can totally do that with this one and not worry about the stink, which is really how you know that you used the wrong mica when you are doing bath products that contain baking soda and citric acid. Aside from that, at first blush, I don't like the fragility of them. I don't like that they are easily remeltable. On one hand, it's a bonus because I was able to put more blue mica in and actually darken up the original color that I had. But on the other hand, if it's that easy to melt and it's that fragile immediately, it's not going to be great for shipping for me, especially during the summer months or any time of the year when I'm shipping to a warm climate. That said, the potential that a handmade, solid, zero packaging product is going to melt in shipping is not new to customers. They know this. Lush has been around for a very long time, and if you are getting your customers from a Lush clientele, then they're aware. Generally speaking, everybody's basically aware that if you're going to be going into the eco-warrior, the zero packaging lifestyle, it's going to come with some drawbacks, and one of those drawbacks is potential melting products. Even so, though, I don't want to ever ship anything that could melt. Period. I have had those packages come to me where it has melted in transit and the whole thing is a mess, and I don't want my customers to experience that. So for me, this is not something that I have ever added to my line in these percentages. So take that for what it is, though. The plus side of it is it's a very smooth product. It's very easy to pour and, it pops out of the mold reasonably quickly. That's awesome. One thing that I would be concerned about as well with this, in addition to the potential melting during shipping, would be that this is a little bit too much oil in a bathtub. And so from a safety perspective, I don't know that this is going to do it for me either. I really do like a nice blend of obviously your moisturizing oils and butters, sure, but I don't want it so that somebody could get hurt coming in and out of the tub. Additionally, these are all very heavy butters and waxes, and the last thing that I like when I'm looking for a moisturizing anything is like a layer of stuff on me after I'm done. I don't want that. I want to be able to shave my legs and get the moisturizing and not have to ruin a towel or anything in the process. I feel like that's what I put lotion on afterwards for. But if you're into that and you like having, the actual like film type thing on your skin afterwards, locking in all the moisture, that's great too. As I said, the recipe that you select ultimately does depend on what you want the ultimate finished product to do. So if that's what you want it to do, then that's great, for sure. Next up in this line, which I am dropping just immediately after this, is a version of this. So we're going to be working with the e-wax because the e-wax is legitimately a smart inclusion, and some butters, mixing up those parameters a little bit, and also including some baking soda and citric acid in a very slight amount to see what we come up with for that. But that is for the next video. So, make sure to check out the playlist, click the next video, do the thing, watch the things. Obviously, do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, whatever. Help the channel, do the things. A big thank you to my sudsers. You are my people. You are my everything. You are the reason that I do the things that I do. When you have comments, when you have questions, when you have concerns, and I feel like it actually warrants something bigger than just responding to help you out with one quick thing, maybe we need a little bit more focus and a little bit more investigation into something, I do it. Because I want you guys to have all of the tools at your disposal in order to make awesome products that you can stand by and know that they're amazing. Like you, because you are amazing. Thank you for joining me today. Again, look for the next recipe, like immediately following this. And tomorrow we will be doing a test of all of the recipes that we'd make, in this playlist, side by side. We can take a look at their performance, their fizz rate, their dispersion rate within the water, all the things, together, and get a nice, view of that. So stay tuned. But again, thank you for joining me. I will see you guys all again immediately / tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.